And happy Tuesday to you all out there in Facebook, YouTube, and podcast land. It's me, Gene. We are here with the TPO Doc Talk podcast coming at you live. Man, it has been a busy week. Got a chance last week to get out to Lake Norton. Got blown off the lake, but still got a little bit of chance to get out there with the new rig and keep working out kinks of this. So got to put some hours on the pickup, knock the dust off. Slept in the pickup, man. Hotel Silverado. I got a chance to check that out and see how it's going to do. You know, it's easy for you short guys out there. But for those of us that are over the 6 foot range, sleeping in a pickup truck, you know, is no fun. And for our guest tonight, it would be impossible, I believe, not unless he could detach the lower part of his body to fit in there. But yeah, it's when you start getting a little older, man, a couple nights. My brother Jason told me, you know, it's good for a couple nights. After that, you're like looking for that hotel. He's not wrong, because after about 2 nights, I'm like, dog, why are these things aching? But nevertheless, it was still a good time. Norton, Kansas, Hillcrest Motel, chipping in and helping us out for this event coming up. So hats off to them. They don't have social media, or we'd be putting their stuff up here for them. But Hillcrest, hats off to you guys. If you're in the Norton, Kansas area, check them out. Young man owns that motel there, and they're a lot of renovating, a lot of cleaning they went through, so it's a good deal. And they're helping the TPO out with that, man, so that's a huge deal. Our first field ops event's coming up May 2 through the 4th. Got a vet coming out of Nebraska we're going to take out there, and we got damn near the whole team showing up for this thing. It's going to be super cool. Lots of vets, lots of civvies all together. We're going to have a good time out there at Norton, Kansas. Hopefully the fishing's going to be awesome. Also got a chance to run up to Elwood. Check that out. That's pretty awesome. They're flowing water into that right now. Going to be a lot of fishing on Elwood this year. So had a pretty decent little road trip there, just to kind of knock the dust off and get things ready. Let's go ahead and pay the bills here. This show, along with all of our shows, which this is one of the last 2 episodes of the Doc Talk, believe it or not. Bittersweet, but it's brought to you by the Romans Warrior Foundation. # helping is healing. Go check them out at romanswarriorfoundation.org if you're interested in finding alternative ways and really creative and effective ways to bring healing to our brothers and sisters out there. Check out the Romans Warrior Foundation and all their divisions. Of course, the Global War on Terror's Wall of Remembrance. If you want to get that mobile monument into your neck of the woods, contact Romans Warrior Foundation and they'll get that set up. None of this possible without Heroes Media Group, Adam Bird, the entire team, and all our fellow podcasting brothers and sisters out there on the media Heroes Media Group. Awesome network. Glad to be a part of these guys and honored to be doing there. And as always, dude, if you want to look cool, if you want to be cool to your friends, you want to help out a great cause, go check out the merch store, TPO Merch. It's at truepatriotoutfitters.org /store-2. Go check it out there. Get you a cool hat, get you a cool t-shirt, get you a cool calendar. Anything out there is cool. Trust me. All right. Bills are paid. We got all this done. Homie's sitting in the wings here. He's waiting. He is no stranger to the Doc Talk whatsoever. This season feels just a little bit different, though, than some of the other seasons when he's come on. He has been standing him up and knocking him down out there. Let's go ahead and bring him into the show. Let me make sure I get this thing set up right. The Real Deal himself, Mr. Joshua Deal. What's happening, brother Josh?
What's going on, fam? How you doing, man?
Good, buddy. Good.
I can't believe season 5, episode, what are we, 30-something now?
31.
This is crazy, dude. Like, it's been a long time running. It's hard to hear you say that we're talking last 2 episodes.
Yeah, you know, it's a good thing. We're moving on to another podcast will be coming up, so we're excited about that. But I think, you know, the True Patriot Outfitters has to look at, you know, energy going in to what we get back out. And I think we've kind of run our course with the Doc Talk, right? I mean, we've done, I think, some great interviews. We've gotten better. We've stayed true to the content. Great guests like yourself, dude, that that we try to highlight and chat with. I've made some amazing friends out of it, like you. So yeah, I think it's done its job, and now it's time for that next chapter, right? So, like we were saying, it'll still be in Syndicate, right? It'll be on TBS, In Between Friends, right. Big Bang Theory. You know, I'm sure they'll air the Doc Talk in there.
Right. So we'll have those throwback nights.
Yeah, exactly. We'll do like some of those exclusive, you know, watch video parties.
So you need something to watch when you sleep in Hotel Silverado.
This is true. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm not sure where I could get a camera now. I was kind of crumped up in there, man. Yeah. So let's talk, dude. Let's go with the low hanging fruit here. Bassmaster National Championship. You go down to Lake Fork down there and put the kung fu on it, man. That was a hell of a derby for you, dude.
And you want to talk about getting blown off the lake? That was one rough sequence. I mean,
the weather was not nice.
Every day of practice was 30 plus mile an hour winds, sitting in timber fields and 2 to 3 foot waves, and just dodging stump fields and just trying to figure it out and dissect it. And then we had one break in the weather in practice, and that was it. That break in the weather in practice was all we had, just that short period of time, that single day. And to be honest with you, that day was not very friendly to me. But we made the best of the situation, scattered a lot of the lake, got a lot of things covered, and, learned what I needed to learn. Tell people all the time, you don't have to catch fish in practice to succeed in the tournament. You just need to know what you don't need to be doing.
Right.
That's just as important as knowing what you need to do. And so I spent some time fishing the moment and really dissecting the area. I had history with the area, and I put the pieces together. I freaking caught a PB in my last day of practice. And then that night after I caught my PB, I blew up my trailer. And then I spent the entire last day of practice in the trailer shop getting my trailer repaired. And then went into the first day of tournament, which was canceled due to high winds, probably the highest winds that we saw the entire week. And then we actually had competition. So I had 2 down days where I didn't accomplish a whole lot other than getting rigged, trying to keep my mental fortitude straight and going, okay, this is what my game plan is, this is what my ideas are, and this is how we're going to try to dissect it.
See, and that's, that can actually sometimes be a snake bite, man, is having too much downtime, because especially if you're, a chronic overthinker like me, dude, I will find ways to just second guess, 3 ways to Sunday. And next thing I know, now I don't know what the hell I want to do. So I'm deciding tournament morning.
That's why the tackle shops love us, because we start second guessing on that. I mean, everybody at Lake Fork should have been running discounts, because I guarantee anglers were running around left and right, maybe I should throw this, or maybe I should pick that up. And I guarantee I left with more tackle than I needed to buy while I was there. And it's just par for the course. Add it to the collection, and it may see the light of day again, and it may get donated at some point in time in the future.
Easily. You were talking about a lot of times in practice, figuring out what not to. Dude, I am really, really good at eliminating water in practice.
Sure.
What I'm not good about is remembering I got to save some water to fish on tournament day, because I eliminate too much sometimes.
Well, I mean, let's see. This is the first time that I have maximized practice. So we had 5 official days that we could practice. It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And for the first time ever in my career, I took every day to practice.
Wow.
I got in Thursday and I scouted ramps and just looked at watercolor, looked at situations, looked at water levels, and was just like, okay, this is what my game plan strategy is going to be. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to hop around a little bit, see what we can access, and go from there. And got out in practice. It was windy as heck, and just made the best of the situation. I had one breakdown moment in practice where I was completely fed up. I was getting my teeth kicked in, and the winds were rough, and I was taking water over the nose of the kayak almost all day long, and just frustrated with the day. And I had to let myself spin out for a moment and then go recuperate and reset my brain and go, look, we know how to do this. We know how to manage this. Be patient, continue to work it, and it'll come. And that's what it did.
Dude, that is awesome stuff, brother. I got to tell you, number one, I had such a ear-to-ear grin watching that leaderboard and watching you where you were placed in there. Love seeing, because I know what I know about you is that there are not many, if any, people that work harder at this and have been doing this, dude, you have a work ethic that is second to none, brother. And so seeing you get some, get that success like that is so freaking awesome. And dude, you're just a hammer. I mean, you could catch fish in a bathtub. I'm sure of that. And so it's cool to see it all come together. That's wild though. So you say you took the full practice there. Is that something you're looking at considering doing from now on? No. What's your normal routine on practice?
So that's actually a really good question. To be honest with you, I think you're the first person to ever ask me that. So when I go to a lake that I've been to before, because I'm trying to fit so much stuff into my schedule and I work a full-time job, I do not give myself more than 2 days of practice on a lake I have been to before. On a lake I have never been to before, I give myself 3 days of practice.
Nice.
I give myself that extra day just to kind of dissect a little bit more water, just in case I go in the first couple spots are a bust. But the reality is, like, I try to always give myself 2 days and then 3 if I've never been there before. At previous natties, I've only given myself the 3 days. I don't want to say I've regretted that. Like, at some point in time, you can overfish your practice.
Yeah.
And with Fork, there's a lot of places on Fork I had never been before. And I'm just like, look, I really want to take some opportunities and look at some different stuff. And with the wind and the situation, if I didn't have that many days of practice this round, this thing would have been maybe a little bit of a different story. Not that I couldn't have figured it out, but I don't know if I would have finished top 5 versus, maybe top 20.
Right.
I mean, there's just a huge separation there. And I probably had a chance at more than I'd put up. But I made choices. I made a spur of the moment choice at the end of competition to make a swing, right?
Yep.
You see it all the time. You see it in the elites. You see it in the opens. You see it in the kayaks where, somebody gets that bug at 20 minutes before line's out and like, I'm just going to go do something wildly different. And then they go net a 7-pounder and it changes the landscape of the tournament.
Yeah.
I made that pivot in competition at Fork, and it didn't pay off. I climbed my way up the leaderboard. I got myself to 106 3/4, and I was like, look, I feel like I need one more fish. I did not know what the leaderboard looked like. I just know that my buddy and our projections were that it was going to take 110 to win. And so the entire time that I was on Fork, I was shooting for 110. 110 on a single day, had to have it. Felt like if it didn't have it, you didn't have a chance at first place. And so I was pressing for that. So at 106 3/4, I had a 17 and a half in the bag that I had not called out yet. And I was like, you got to go, fish. Like, we got to figure out how to get you out of there. And I left the area that I was in, and there was another guy back there, and he caught a 21 after I left. And I say after I left, it was closer towards the end of the day. That 21 would not have changed the final results. It would have changed my final score, but it would not have changed the final results for me. I'd have still finished second place. That doesn't mean that I couldn't have stayed there and caught a bigger fish. But I went to the area where I had caught my PB 3 days prior. And so I caught a PB in the creek where I ended up breaking my PB on tournament day.
Oh, so nice.
I caught a 7-8 in practice, which, everybody's like, well, 7-8 is not that big. And you fish all this and like, that's not that big of a fish. But to be honest with you, like, I catch lots of 5, 6, 7-pound fish. And like, I just don't see 8s, 9s, and 10s. Like, just something just doesn't happen for me. I don't have that real big fish mantra that some folks have. And so 7-8 was my PB. I set it, and then the trailer blew up. And then on tournament day, I caught an 8.33.
That's awesome.
Set a new PB, 3 days later. And I was like, look, I have this spot where I caught that 7-8. And I promise you, if there was one 7-pounder there's more. It was a spawning bay. I knew the area because I had fished it in my first Bassmaster kayak event on Fork in 2020.
Good stuff.
I knew the potential. And so I was like, look, I'm going back to it, and I'm going to go check it out. And I went in, and there was 3 boats in there. And they were all crappie fishing. And so I'm like, you guys can crappie fish. I'll work around you. And I'm scanning with the scope, and I'm like, that's a 7-pounder. That's a 9-pounder. Like, you can see them, and they're just there. Like, I'm throwing baits at them, and they're like, nah.
Yeah.
You're not getting a bite out of us.
Good.
I worked that for the entire last 20, 25 minutes to no avail. And like it went down, and I was like, look, I don't care how it finished. I don't care how it ended. My goal coming into Fort was to walk the classic stage, period. I told Steve Owens before the event even happened, I said, look, there's a chance this is my last kayak championship in BASS because I'm making some changes, right? I'm doing some changes in circuits and stuff like that. I still plan to fish the opens, but the kayak opens will be my only chance at making the championship from here on out.
Right.
Like I'm not competing for the kayak state championships or stuff like that anymore. I don't have the time in the schedule to run all that. And so it's like, look, might be my last time that I'm at the kayak championship. And if it is, I'll tell you, out of all the lakes that we have fished, this is probably my best chance of walking the classic stage. So I will leave it all out there to walk the classic stage. And that's what I did. And
that's awesome, dude.
Come true, got to knock it off the list and, look at the next goal. And keep it rolling. So
that's good stuff. And that's the thing though, man. Like you said, those decisions, it's that 4th and inches call. If it pays off, you're a genius. If it doesn't, it's like, nah. And it's cool to see as football has now moved into a new era. Before going for it on 4th and 1 was like, no, this coach needs to be fired. Now, if the coach doesn't go for it on 4th and 1, it's like, no balls.
Yep.
So, fishing is no different. Dude, you made a call. You still had a great tourney regardless.
Yep. Don't regret my choices.
Yeah, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. That's awesome stuff.
I've never been happier with a second place in my life.
Right?
Ever. So, I mean, it's like...
Yeah. And homie that won it, dude, perfect storm. I mean, good Lord, everything came together for him on that day. There's just not much that's going to stop that. That's the part of our sport that's why I always say we can talk all we want, but there is absolutely a measure of luck involved in our sport because we can't control the other guy. And when the other guy just puts it all together and everything just happens to fall in line for them, and they execute, is what it is. You got to see where it all falls.
Yeah, and there's the luck factor. The luck factor is critically important because fish still have to eat, right? And the right fish still have to eat. So there's always that luck component. And then there's the science behind it, right? I fished in an area with 2 other kayakers that were there most of the time that I was there. And to be honest with you, the separation was the recognition of a 100-yard patch.
Wow.
And that was the separation in catching 20, 21, 22-inch fish and catching 14, 15, 16-inch fish.
Right.
And so that recognition, I've said it before, I've made social media posts about it. So many tournaments are won in tiny areas where, when you look at the graph, there's just circles on it. Or
right.
Where people have done loops and repeated the process and fished the same water they've been fishing for 2 days or all day or something like that. That's exactly what Fork was.
That's awesome.
And it was this tight-knit area. And, when you can locate those hot spots, look, they always say don't leave fish to find fish. There's a point in time where, at some point in time, you probably have to give up on those fish or make that call to try and swing big. But the reality is, you got to work that and understand where that separation is. I've had it beat me before. It beat me at not Logan Martin. It beat me at Smith Lake in Alabama once. The fish got up and moved overnight. They were in a tight-knit cluster, and they were real stacked up in an area, and overnight they shifted a quarter mile.
Dang.
And it took me half a day to figure it out.
Wow. That's good stuff, man. This is your first season, too, fishing, isn't it, out of that XTR, right? You got that big, your battleship going there?
That is my battleship.
So you've been in Hobies and Natives, and now you got the Bonafide XTR. How's it doing so far? You liking it?
No, I've never competed out of a Native.
Oh, you didn't? I thought you had a...
I do own a Native, and I bought it with the intention to have it as a secondary boat for certain events, and I never used it that way.
Right.
That Native has been out with me in the seat 3 times since I've owned it. And up until this year, I have done everything on Hobie. I've won state championships. I've won national events. I've won big bass events. I've won everything has been from a Hobie. And nice. I pulled the plug at the end of 24 and said, look, I gotta make a change.
Yep.
And there's some reasons behind that, and I'm not going to get into those
here
today, but I'm constantly contemplating you know, to tell more of that story or not. I'm contemplating whether I'm going to put something out because I think there's a story to be had and there's a truth that I want to have told.
Yep.
Hobie has been a huge part of my career up until the end of 2024, and I walked away and I went to Bonafide and I bought the XTR 130. We rigged it out. I even got offered, from my dealer, they're like, "I'm gonna be on the national team." And I said, "No, no, no." I said, "You need to hold on for me for a second. I need to know that I love this platform and that I want to be in this platform before I go asking to be a part of a national team. I need to know that I can respect and appreciate the brand. This
Yep.
isn't my first Bonafide. I have an SS127 sitting in the garage, but I have never been a competitor out of the Bonafide.
Right.
So getting in the XTR, setting it up right, building it to my specs and to what I wanted to see the boat do, I've done that and accomplished that. And now, if the opportunity presents itself, different conversation. But
That's
that
awesome.
XTR is my 2025 ride.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. Yeah, and it's always you never know how it's going to go when you grab something, a new variable in there. So it's cool to see that it's working through. And so, not just on the kayak scene, but also, I mean, you've always competed on both kayak and boat. You've done that, and you're running that out of your Vexus, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yep. And so, was this when I'm looking at here back at the beginning of April? Was this a Toyota series or was this a BFL event?
No, that was BFL. So we were on Hartwell last week.
Hartwell, yeah.
Yeah, we were on Hartwell last week. I finished 15th and got my first MLF check last week on Hartwell.
That's awesome.
Had a good tournament, had a good practice, was able to put some things together. It's part of a transition for me. Although Clarks Hill is my home lake, the Savannah River chain is tough for me because it's herring fisheries. I tend to excel better at grass lakes. We've had that conversation in the past.
Yep.
But I mean, and most of the stuff behind me comes from grass lakes. It's funny how that works. But it's a herring sequence, a lot of clear water, a lot of challenging stuff. And so, I told myself that if I was going to make a run in the boats in 26, which is legitimately part of the plan, that in 25, I needed to work out some of the kinks and challenge myself on the MLF side. And so I did. And so I went in the Savannah River chain. There's a great group of anglers in this region that know these lakes inside and out. Probably get more time on them than I do nowadays, but it's been worth every bit. So
that's awesome.
3 events this year, cashed in my 3rd event, so that's solid. I got a really good point standing right now. In the crew, I'm probably going to make the regional and continue to build. The next event is actually here at Home Pond in Clarks Hill, so that'll be a bonus. It'll be in summertime, which is one of my favorite times here. And then we'll be back to Hartwell for the 2-day. So.
Hartwell's a beautiful, beautiful lake, man. I didn't get a chance to compete on it, but the wife and I did do a little mini vacation there. We rented a pontoon, drove around for a little bit. And yeah, that is a beautiful body of water over there. Absolutely. Big, very big. I like big water like that. All the fingers and the creek backs and such.
It's funny to me because I felt that way. I felt like Hartwell was huge until I went to it this trip. So when I went to it this trip, this is the first time that I've been to Hartwell in the bass boating competition. And this is the first time where I felt like Hartwell wasn't as big as I thought it was. Clarks Hill is a bigger lake, in my opinion.
65, 70 mile an hour can really shorten a lake down.
That's right. From mid-lake to the south end in 10 minutes.
Yep.
Right? And I was like, well, that's not as far as I thought it was. I got a little more room that can run. As long as I don't run 35 miles up the Tulu, we're fine.
Right. Furthest distance I ever went was 48 miles, and that was at Old Hickory. I ran all the way up that river chain to find grass. Because I could not find grass that I wanted, and I found it that far up.
I mean, did you see what Dustin Connell did at Gunnersville?
I didn't see the details. 70?
70 miles. He went all the way up to the dam on the north end. So launching out of Goose Pond all the way up to the dam, heck of a ride, long, windy, rainy, nasty, and I mean just a grueling trip up. But he absolutely went up there and smashed them.
when it pays off like that, you can't blame them. It's again, it's that 4th and inches call, right? It's like genius, well done, awesome move.
Well, and there's fishing your strengths too.
Yeah.
I mean, he caught some fish on Gunnersville that people don't often see. Like, when's the last time you saw Gunnersville throw out a mag smallmouth?
Right.
In competition, and have that fish hit the scales. Right? How did that happen? It's just awesome. A different fishery.
And he's just been one of those quiet dudes that just keeps winning big events. I mean, he's Mr. Clutch, right? This guy, he just waits for the big event and then just knocks it out of the park.
I mean, when you hang with Jacob Wheeler all the time,
yeah, can't be a bad thing.
Yeah, there's some osmosis there, and he's won 3 red crests now. I mean, he just, yes, he's won 3 tournaments with a payout of $300,000 a pop.
Yeah,
so I need that in my life.
Yeah, he's doing it right there for sure. Want to give a shout out to the guys joining us here, tuning in live, and throwing some comments. Mr. Jason Ginger, part of the TPO team there out of Missouri. How are you, brother Jason? Another TPO team member out of Colorado, Mr. Jason Lovell. Then our buddy out of the Colorado kayak scene here, Mr. Craig McMillan. How are you, Craig? Appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm pretty sure Lovell's driving truck right now, so he's probably listening to us more than anything. Let's hope he's not watching, because I think he's got dual trailers or something behind him or whatever. So no watching, Jay.
You're on the road.
That's right. That's awesome stuff, man. And, the BFLs were such a cool event series. I actually I fished a few BFLs up in Minnesota, Wisconsin area. It's called the Great Lakes Division. Mainly it was on the river. Like 3 out of the 5 events were on the river, right out of La Crosse there. And then that's where I actually grew to love lacrosse, love and hate. Hate getting beat by the river rats all the time, but also love the fishery. But then started going down in the BFL, started jumping down into the Ozark Division down there in Missouri and fishing Arkansas and some of those, around that area. And, just loved, they ran a good show. It was a good tournament, run real well. The guys there usually, were pretty decent through and through. And yeah, the quality of angler that you're facing there is pretty damn stout. Some of the major, top end pros will tell you fishing those BFLs, and sometimes the Toyotas are even harder than fishing some of the other ones, because the other series, there's very few locals, right? I mean, you got a small number. When you go into these, dude, a solid, good, probably 30, 40, 50% of your field is locals.
And not just locals, but local guides.
Right.
Like the guy who won Hartwell is a local guide.
Yeah.
And so you're competing with that. And am I coming out to compete with you knowing that you're a local guide? You better believe it, because I need to cut my teeth on that. If I want to compete with the best and I want to chase with the best and I want to fish big competition, you got to be able to go out and compete with that. And look, if he can catch 20 pounds of fish in a day, so can you.
Yep. I love that for sure. So Jason, he's towing 3 trailers behind him and he's just browsing. That's awesome, Jay. We'll Mr. Smith, I mean. Good stuff. Yeah, man. So the boat scene is a different bird, through and through. What are you thinking about, with your future plans here? I mean, when you look at the pathways, I'm just going to throw out some opinion here. MLF needs to stop kicking itself and taping its own business to its leg by having 2 pro series. Okay, this invitational and then the BPT, $5,000 a pop each one of them. It's like, come on, remember you got anglers that are trying to cut your way in here. If they could cure that, I think they have the best pathway up, in my opinion, at least the most cost-effective pathway up. If they would get rid of that, I think that invitational side, or turn it back into a pro and let the BPT be the all-star game that it's supposed to be. Whatever. Bass, on the other hand, is, simplifying things down and making it a little bit, I don't know if I want to say easier, but easier to understand, at least, on this is where you got to go, this is how you can get up there and how you can run. But it's still the opens are still not a great investment when you look at payback, as far as, what comes back. It's still a rough business decision. So what are you thinking? What are you looking at for a
Well,
pathway?
so let's talk dollars and cents, because the reality
Yeah.
comes down to dollars and cents. I'll put it to you this way: if
A
I
lot of
could,
dollars and it doesn't make any sense.
right, right. Um, there's some people that say that. My wife might throw her hat in that ring. Um,
Right.
but the reality of that is, like, if I went into the MPFL 2 years ago, if I had a way to pay my entry fees, like, I wouldn't think twice about it. I feel like I had enough of a resume. I felt like I had enough that I could throw my hat to the MPFL and say, hey, look, yes, I've done a lot of my work on a kayak, but I'm no stranger to a bass boat. And I felt like I could have found my way to the field if I could afford the entry fees, right? The entry fees in the MPFL, last I had looked, were like 5,600 on events.
Yep.
And like, that's 25, 30,000 a year in entry fees. Okay.
Yep.
But they pay top 40, give or take, and that top 40 paycheck's pretty good. You just have to finish top 40 and get that. On the flip of that, you talk about MLF, so the invitationals and stuff like that. You're talking 5,000 an event there. The opens are 1,800. That's the separation, right? And the opens, the difference between the opens is you're talking number of events. With them splitting it into two divisions, that's a big deal this year. So you could fish one division of the opens and only fish 4 events, and it will only cost you $8,000 to play, $8,000 in entry fee money to play. And so that's a separation. And then if you get in the top 50, then you make the EQ, which then requires you to fish 3 more events for a chance at the elites. And so that's something there that's kind of critical to understand. So now you're looking at potentially a maximum of 7 events to compete your way in, and it's a diverse landscape. They're fishing across all platforms of the country. They're changing the bodies, they're changing the fish species, they're changing the primary forage, the primary lake types, lakes to rivers, rivers to clear waters to highlands, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, like, they're challenging for that better angler to come out of the ecosystem. And in that EQ, they're just dumping the best from both sides in and fishing 3 events in the fall, which they don't tend to do opens very often.
Right.
Fishing in the fall to make that final qualification push.
Right.
So, and then the top whatever out of that makes its way into the Elite Series the next year.
Are the EQs the same price as the opens, 1,800?
As far as I understand, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's the difference, right? I mean, you can spend $30,000 and fish 6 events in MPFL, or you can spend, let's just say $2,000 an event for BASS and fish 7. So you're talking $15,000 to play. And either one of those, like, I understand the MPFL is considered a national level, elite level circuit, and there's a lot of great anglers in it, straight up, hands down. But the separation there between that versus like the Bass Pro Tour versus the Elite Series, you can go to the opens, is what I'm saying. The opens are a more cost-effective way to dip your toe into that water.
Yep. Yeah, and then and especially in today's world, it's so much more that it used to be you could win your way in, right, as to sponsorships and all that good stuff. And that just isn't the case anymore. There's so much more that goes into that. It becomes more of a business investment that you have to really, grasp and get a hold of and be ready to deal with, or, a lot of that stuff will pass you by. So, it's
stop chasing sponsors.
Yeah.
Like, why? It just, so look, I want to work with people and I want to work with teams and I want to have opportunities to participate, but there's a work component to that too, right?
Yep.
And there's a lot of groups out there that they're offering decent stuff. Like, they're offering discounts, they're offering free gear, there's perks to that, right? But they're not helping pay my entry fees, they're not paying gas money, they're not paying some of that stuff. And like, the amount of available resources there, not as many as there once were. Having the ability to have non-endemic sponsors on hand goes a long way to paying entry fees.
Big time.
have an opportunity or a network to have that conversation with somebody, I will go have that conversation and be loyal to that element. But like, I got to make sure that I can rep that brand.
Yep.
It's important to me that I can rep that brand, right? And so, I'm trying to do as much of this through my own goodwill as I can,
Right. Right.
because I can't look. Everybody sees what's happening in the markets right now.
Sure.
I mean, look at how many people are changing sponsors or losing sponsors, and look how many jerseys are half empty right now.
Right.
And that's the fishing industry. Companies
Yeah.
getting bought out, the mega brands, the mega corporations, and that's limiting how much money is trickling down into some of the amateur level series. It's just a changing landscape, and save some dollars and cents on the side and try to keep
Yeah.
my head in the game and pay my way.
It's across everywhere. We did the same thing this year. I haven't made the official announcement, but we saw it take place there. Because for us on the TPO side of things, that's really where my focus is at. It's not looking for sponsorship for competition per se. I'm just looking for, that would be additional that we would offer to somebody. Ours is, can you help us with the TPO? Help us with these deals, put in there, and that's why we've narrowed down. And this year Blackfish All Terrain, they've had some changeover. Some things happen there, and that one stung just because I've been with All Terrain for almost 8 years now. And they're my longest running. So yes, there's still a discount there. There's still a pro staffing opportunity there, but as I said, that's not really my focus anymore. I'm not trying to be the tackle guy. I'm not trying to be the guru, this and this. We've got work that we're doing, and it takes a good collaboration out there. So yeah, it's tough. Companies are being forced to kind of do some stuff. I made a little reel on this too. Tell me what you think about this. I think we're going to see as the China tariffs take effect. I think we're going to see if that does go the way we think it does. I think you're going to see the tackle industry is going to get hit pretty heavy across the board for new stuff coming, because China's been a main supplier of like tungsten out the Yang and freaking some brands terminal hooks and things of this nature, because it's cheap to manufacture it over there. And so if that's not the case anymore, that could there's quite a few companies I think that are going to feel the ding of that. What do you think?
I think that we're going to see some change in the tackle market, that's for sure. What that change is and how bad it's going to be, I think, is yet to be understood. Right? It could be really catastrophic. The numbers could change drastically, especially in the tariff market. I don't know the man personally, but Tim Percy out of Canada has made brackets and mounts and steering kits and stuff like that, and the cost and the ability to ship and move stuff into the United States for him from Canada has gotten really difficult, to the point where they've had to shut some of that stuff. He's having to manage that differently. Let me rephrase that, because I don't have the full insights there.
Yep.
And then I saw a post from the folks in Catch that they can't ship to Canada because it's no longer cost effective for them to ship to Canada because of the new costs and taxes affiliated with that. And so that's already those are first impacts just in my immediate ecosystem. I had Percy steering on the Hobie. I had Percy plates on the Hobie, helping protect that investment. I have a catch board. Almost everybody on the circuit has a catch board, right?
Yep.
It's the standard, and the ability to ship and move that now is going to be problematic.
Yep, for sure. And hopefully this things go in a direction and things get cleaned up properly. Who knows? Right now there's a lot of hype, a lot of news. It's selling articles really, and I think that's what it was meant to do. And so it just gets going.
I don't think any of us know what the ground truth is until we really see it change. For some of those folks that are high up in specific portions of industry, yep, yeah, nice. Exactly. And Tim Percy has been supporting the community for a long time, making a heck of a product. And so he's had problems with shipping, he's had a lot of shipments go lost and issues with that, and it's a hot mess. And I keep an eye on his stuff because he makes great products. I mean, shout out to
That's awesome.
So I respect people who put together a good product, straight up. And
totally.
That's where it comes down to.
Love it. So you got BFLs. Now, are you going to be doing some boat stuff at the state level? Is that where your focus is going to be cranking over to?
So right now on the bass boat side, I fish a local club circuit. I fish the Georgia Bass Nation, a Georgia Bass Nation circuit here, and then I fish and the BFLs in the Savannah River region. And really, part of that increase is for me to increase my water time, exposure time from the boat perspective, my competition time from the boat perspective, and then to also work on some of my travel kinks. Look, it's a huge difference packing out to run the bass boat versus packing out to run the kayak. And so working out some of those bugs before I jump big circuit. I had some failures in my first MLF event this year because I did not have my boat packed the way that I needed to have it packed to effectively compete. And so I made those changes going into the second tournament and then made even more changes going into the last tournament, Hartwell. And so that will give me a better launch platform so that those things distract you as an angler.
Big time.
And so the more that you can solidify that stuff and make that sound, the better off you'll be in competition.
Yep.
You know, when you're driving along and trailer blows up, or you know, you realize that you got to the ramp and you don't have your chocks, so you can't unhook the boat from the trailer. You can't unhook the trailer from the truck, or you know, you forgot this, that, or whatever. Or you didn't realize that you needed a heating blanket in for your batteries to keep them from freezing because they're lithium and it's 17 degrees outside. Those kinds of things come back to haunt you, and like you have to figure out how to manage those. And that's time that you're not rigging tackle. That's time that you're not doing map study. That's time that you're not thinking about tomorrow's weather conditions. That's time that you're not, you know, keeping your head in, and you have to be able to get that out of the way.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's when you're talking to this, it's talking when you compete at the level that you do and you compete the way you do. That's, you know, that's critical. You're looking for that that efficacy in your processes, you know, to come through. So that's super cool, man. Looking here on your XTR, I'm looking at one of the videos on your site here. See, I just added this back on mine this year, and that's that horizontal rod storage. Being able to set the, like, just some ready rods, just rods that, you know, for me, what I keep there, I have no problem telling you. I'll keep like a Senko worm on there, and I keep a jig. Those two things stay right there for me, because if I'm throwing a crank or I'm throwing, you know, top water and I get a blow up and miss, I got that follow-up bait that is quick and easy. I'm getting to it and trying to get it in there quick. And so that's, you keep yours on the side that I like to reel fish in on, though. So I keep mine on the right side.
So I keep mine on the left because I like to put fish on the right. However, there are videos of me boating fish over that rod setup. I don't really have any problems with it.
Are they strapped on? So
No.
they can't fall?
No.
Have you lost any yet?
All right, so we're going to go into that. I'm glad you asked that question. So the way that I have this set up is so that I prevent myself from losing them. If you look at my hook loops, they all turn inward.
Yeah.
And so I have it all set so everything faces the kayak. For a rod to come out and go in the lake, it has to detach and go over the rail system.
I got you.
I've taken the clips off. I've taken the rubber bands off. I've taken all that stuff off. There are guys that have that vertically on the outside, facing outside, so that they pull out.
Oh, my
Those
gracious.
are the guys that I think are going to lose rods.
Right, for sure.
Like, hey, isn't that system in your way because it sticks out so far? The answer is no, it's not. I have netted fish on my left side. I have been very strategic about that placement. I was spoiled in the Hobie. In the Hobie, I could put 2 rods on each side of me inside beside my seat, and they were always pre-staged and ready to go. So I could bend down and pick one up and move it and switch it and flip back out again.
Nice.
On the XTR, I needed a solution. That solution was those Yak Attack mounts.
That's awesome.
And they work exceptionally well. Very happy with them. I don't need them as complicated as they come in the package. I just need the 2 mountain points, slide them out to the left-hand side, and then keep them a little forward of you. Keeping them forward of you is important for you to net fish. Because when you put them to the left back, of you, or like to the left side of you, they're more in your way. And so when you're in that XTR seat, rotates.
Yep.
And so you can
Welcome to the club, baby.
Right, and I can reach over with that net and just scoop it right up behind the rod butts. No
That's
problem.
awesome.
Or I can switch hands and do the same thing from the left side. And so those aren't in my way.
That's awesome.
In the XTR, something I didn't do in the Hobie so much, I boat flip a number of fish in the XTR.
Yep.
Which it just, the seat angle, the position, the amount of space that you have from the surface of the water, it's different. So it's so much more convenient. Medium-sized fish, just boat flip them.
You know, anytime I'm out of Colorado and I'm not using 6 pound, not using freaking angel hair fishing line, I will get back to boat. I boat flip just pretty much constantly because especially on the new canoe, we have such a low draft. It's easy to get him up and in. So Jason, who fished in his first tournament last weekend there, he just says he just lost one rod last weekend. He needs a holder. Yes, you do, buddy. Got to get that on there. But from my boat, Table Rock has two different events that I went to Table Rock, 2 total different years. I kicked reaching for my motor, to grab my trolling motor and deploy it. I kicked a freaking rod off the deck and into the water. Did that 2 separate years, 2 separate tournaments. And so I've donated Table Rock, a decent amount of tackle over the course of years when I was there. I got tired of that little drill. Now, what's this? Let's see. I see another event that you were going here, a team event that you were doing. That's also out of the boat. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a local club event. Well,
local club.
So there's a local club event, and then there's a little bit of a local regional event. We have this thing in the area that's hosted by Haddon Outdoors called the Super Six.
Nice.
So they, it's a high entry fee, team tournament.
And a snazzy belt.
And so that's my club. The snazzy belt's the club tournament. So
nice.
That's sitting right here.
Nice.
So
our brother Stoney got him one of those belts from the Big Bass Bash at yeah. So good looking stuff.
Mine until you take it.
There you go. I told Stoney I want to see his best Randy Macho Man Savage with that belt. I want to see the reel come up on that.
So my teammate bought a Lucha Libre mask after our first win of it last year and wore the Lucha Libre mask to our next event with the belt.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, we need to see some pictures on that for sure.
Maybe we can make that happen. I'm pretty sure there's pictures floating around.
Heck yeah. So this is good stuff, man. So this year, what's the rest of the season looking like for you? What do you got on plan?
So I have a Super 6. The schedule's crazy, right? I have a Super 6 this weekend on the home pond. And then I go to Dale Hollow for the kayak series. And then I come back and there is a $30,000 payout event on Clarks Hill called the Clarks Hill Classic. It's a big event, and for the first time, it'll be a 3-day event versus a 2-day event.
Wow.
So that'll be interesting. You'll have to qualify for day 3. It'll be a team tournament. So me and my co-angler, Big Smoke Kev, we'll be out there together doing what we do and trying to make the best of it. And then after that, I think we have Champlain on the kayak schedule. I got another Super 6 on the books. I've got MLF on Clarks Hill, MLF on Hartwell, and probably the regional, which will be on Norman from what I'm hearing. And so, I got a busy season still. A lot left in the tank. I probably have 15 events left on the schedule this year.
You're a busy dude, man, and none of this happens. I mean, none of it's possible without one hell of a support system. Talk to me about Mrs. Real Diehl. I mean, this woman might need a statue made. I mean, the amount of time she gives up and just, how freaking awesome is that though, man? Just to support your passion, support, what you're running down there. Talk a little bit on that. Like I said, we'll look into the statue thing for you.
She offered to fly to Texas when I finished second, and I told her no.
That's awesome.
I told her, I said, if I thought I had won or thought I had a chance at winning, I'd have flown around the heartbeat. But I knew that I didn't win the event. And I was like, babe, I love you. And I said, but I can't fly you out for this. I said, this is not what I want you. I want you to see me walk the stage live for. This is a special moment for me. But not this time. We're going to do this again.
That's awesome.
Maybe at a different level. She's amazing. Her and I have been. So we just celebrated something we call Reese's Day. So my wife and I's relationship started around a birthday card for her and a pack of Reese's peanut butter cups. And so 2 days before her birthday, every year, we have something called Reese's Day, where usually I commandeer some sort of Reese's, and we have Reese's. Well, this is the 13th year of Reese's. And so this year I got 1,300 Reese's pieces and 130 miniature Reese's peanut butter cups, accompanied by purple roses, and put them in a vase together and set it up for her as Reese's Day this year.
What's the diabetic medicine that they? Because you're going to need 13 freaking bottles of that.
So nobody said you had to eat them all at once. Right?
That's true. They got a hell of a shelf life.
And so she, I had competition. So this weekend was her birthday, and I was in competition all weekend. And so she was like, nope, I understand. I'll make it up to you. And so I sent her on a spa day and made sure she was taken care of. She got a spa day. She got her nails done. She had a facial.
Nice.
And then we went out to dinner last night. We make those considerations. I need to take time out of the schedule. We go take cruises together, and we go, take opportunities to travel. We get along really, really well, but she don't travel with me during the week. She don't travel with me when I go on these big trips. She holds the fort down here locally. She's got her own efforts that she's running. Actually, my newest sponsor, and I say sponsor somewhat jokingly, but also somewhat seriously. So my wife has started travel advising. And so we started an effort called 42 Adventure, and it will be my premier sponsor. And she is booking cruises for folks and helping people book trips to Disney and stuff like that. You can look it up on 42adventure.com. Actually, on our website, look it up on Facebook or Instagram at 42 Adventure. And, she can get you hooked up with a cruise, get you set up and on your way.
That's awesome.
That plug as well. So.
When you were saying that, I'm like, I should probably make a little bet. Oh, geez, Christmas. You see, I'm so busy chatting with you here. I should have been throwing this thing up throughout the entire interview, but.
Hey, man. So I want to go back to something because you mentioned the change in sponsorship, right?
Yeah.
And that social media tag right there is starting to be everything, right? It has been everything for a little while now. People are monetizing, marketing, working on content, working on material, and that's that growth component. As an angler, as a professional, or an attempt to be a professional in the sport, the best thing that anybody can do for me is to like and follow my content. That's the best thing that they can do for me, right? Even if they don't look at it all the time, the best thing that you can do to help support me is to like and follow my content.
Totally. And we talk about this, and for those that are listening on the audio platform, that's at Real Diehl. His last name, Diehl, Real Diehl Fishing. So make sure to get out and do a like and a follow. It's a huge way. We're the same way at the TPO, man. I tell people all the time, look, if you're not in the position to donate financially, totally understand that. If you're not in a position to volunteer, totally understand that. You can do a huge, huge service to us by simply giving us a like and a follow and a subscribe on YouTube. That is a major help. It expands our reach, and it helps us when we're talking to those potential financial backers, that when they see what kind of reach we have with that stuff. So it's a great way and easy way to support some stuff. So we're going to follow up on this whole travel thing here. I'm going to have to chat with you and get more information on that. And
absolutely, man.
Fire that out. We've got, I know at the Romans Warrior Foundation, we've got Semper Fi Travel. That's kind of a little effort that Brian Roman's wife, Shannon, I think she's heading that up quite a bit. So it's a cool deal. And my wife is the one that takes care of all of our travel. Like you, she doesn't really come with me on most any of the stuff that I do. She has once. She came with me down to Lake of the Ozarks with the boat, and she enjoyed the first couple hours when we were out there during practice, because she's just kind of reading books, taking pictures and such. And then, yeah, about halfway through a normal practice day, she was ready to go in. It was like, yes, let's get you in there, type thing. So, and there's,
My wife has not stepped on my boat in probably 4 years.
oh, wow.
Like very rarely does my wife like getting her to come out like is almost impossible. Love her to death. But she like when it comes to like no, she doesn't. I have put up the umbrella on the back deck, set her up with books and drinks and whatnot, and she's like, nah, I'll pass.
Not her thing, yeah.
It's not her thing. And like the last couple times she's come out, she wants to hop in the lake and she'll swim a little bit while I fish around, and then and she'll just sit around and chill on the back deck. But like a couple hours, and she's like, I'm ready to go home.
Yep. Dude, it's not easy, especially practice when a lot of what you're doing is seat time and scanning. I mean, from a boat, people don't understand that that's a tremendous amount, especially on new water. That's a tremendous amount of your practice time is spent just literally eating a PB&J, drinking a bottle of water, and looking at screens and making dots all over your map. Just over and over, for hours on end sometimes.
Or fish to this point and hop into the next point and hop to the next point. And then the wife's in the back going, why are you moving so much? Start here.
This is not what I'm looking for.
What are you looking for? I don't know when I find it.
Exactly. I don't know yet. Well, awesome stuff, man. We got another couple. What do we got here? Yes, here we go. We got Jake Schroeder with Jake's Lure Joint on here, and yes, he should be the same on Facebook. It's Real Diehl Fishing is what you'll find there, Jake. And Josh, you check out Jake for if you're interested. He's got some awesome soft plastics he makes right here. He's a Army active duty, and he just released a new swim bait. I don't know, you need a lot bigger baits down there, but he's definitely got those too. But I'll tell you that if you're ever throwing a wacky rig, I don't know if that's against your religion or not. But
I used to be the Cinco King.
Yeah?
Used to be.
Nice.
It used to be a staple. It used to be one of my primary techniques. And like one of the things that when it comes to competition at this circuit level was like, look, you need to get, I looked at myself and I was like, let me be honest. I need to be more diverse. And so like I went from having these love platform baits to no, I fish so many different techniques. Great with moving baits, great with crankbaits, great with worms and dragging and fishing jigs. And I have all of those skill sets pretty much mastered on that front. I struggle with Magnum swim baits. That's a space that I'm trying to fix. Like I'm in legitimate conversation with Matty Wong about going on a guide trip with Matty Wong to get a class lesson from him on how to throw big glides, right scenarios, right times, right opportunities, and how to put that together better.
That's awesome, man.
That's part of the word I'm looking for, not professionalism. That's perfecting the trade.
Yeah, the evolution of your skill sets. Yeah, I find the same thing, man. Is that I like to throw a lot of different styles. What I struggle with is the confidence to sit back and say that I've thrown this bait enough and that I'm switching at the right time, because I'll find myself switching and then thinking in my head, shit, maybe I should have thrown it a little bit more, maybe I should have thrown it at this. And so what I've done to play games with myself and just to hone things back in is I've just narrowed down over this last off season here for me, based on good results that I had coming in at the end of last season. Just narrowing down my focus for now. For competition, this is what we're going to live and die by. I'm going to run these things. I'm going to look for these strengths. I'm going to fish these baits. We'll change up. We'll fish the right bait depending on where we think they're at, obviously, and colors depending on our conditions. But I've simplified everything down. So yeah, I'm going to have a lot of rods, but I'm keeping it simple this year. And sticking with what I enjoy doing. Which. It is definitely cranks for sure. They're in there. I was already hitting you up with some ideas that I had on some stuff. I've yet to be able to test it out here on Colorado waters, but I'm going to give it a whirl because I know not a lot of guys will.
I want to know. Sure. I want to know. Keep me posted. So yeah. I have not simplified. I keep telling myself I'm going to simplify, and I am not simplifying. Like I still have 10 to 12 rods on every loadout. and everything is rigged differently with a different setup. I've got a deep diver, I've got a shallow diver, I've got spinner baits, I got chatter baits, I got worms, I got jigs, I got top water, I've got everything. And I'm just like, it's just rigged out, and it's all about efficiency for me on the water. And so I get in there, and I'm going to fish the moment. And if the fish want to play top water, we're going to play top water. And if fish want to be on the bottom, like, I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of people are going to find this statement weird, but I actually hate throwing a shaky head. I'm just not a fan of it. I never have been. I would rather have a Texas rigged worm any day of the week over a shaky head. There's just something about the shaky head profile that gets the best of me. But I'll bet you dollars to donuts that if I have to throw the shaky head, I will not hesitate to pick it up and make it work. That's what I did at Hartwell. That's how I cashed my check in the MLF event. I knew I had to do it, and so I just sucked it up and did it. And I'm proficient in it. I can do it. It's just not a favorite. And those moments in time when you know, like, you got to get past stubborn. You got to get past that. Like, I don't want to throw this bait, but, I don't want to throw a drop shot. I would rather fish other techniques. But guess what?
Yeah.
I'm just got to throw a drop shot.
Yeah, and I've come to that agreement too. Is that, look, I've got one of the best setups that a guy could ask for on the drop shot rig out there. So just throw it, be cool with it. It's there if I want it. If that's the what I got to go to, I'll use it. Especially for tournament stuff. I'm tired of paying for people's entry fees. It's time to start going back to and realizing where I'm at. I enjoy the jokes, but that shit's over. It's time to start taking money, not just giving it out. So Jason chimed in and said to his I think he's talking about his wife there. His wife enjoys catching, not fishing. 15 minutes without a fish, she's done. Yep, that happens. And he was letting us know that Jake's new stuff is crazy good, and for sure it is. Jake, he builds. I love the soft plastics, the presentations. They're very unique, a lot of them, but they're also, it's that good balance of durability and real, real feel and texture to it. He loves the shaky, but hate the drop shot. Yes, and Jake's actually fished out here in Colorado too, so he knows. He's played that, that tiny forage game. Dude, I'm not kidding you. Our shad are, where's the camera? Our shad are like, this, right? It's stupid. It's stupid. You throw swim baits out here like this and no one touches them, or you.
Right now is winning tournaments on the home pond.
Oh yeah.
And like this, like keeping it small. So my equivalency right now to that, because we're in an early stage, the herring haven't really came to play yet. They're gonna be ham here in a moment, but as these herring are getting set up, I've been telling people that are in my close circle, like, look, traps. I said, I'm throwing traps right now. They're like, it's April. Yes, I'm throwing a trap right now.
Yep.
I typically throw a trap in April. Why? Shad spawn. You're looking at fish that are starting to queue up on that early bait transition. So that bait forage is tiny, and they're up there trying to do their thing, and so you're dealing with that situation. I'll have a trap in my hand. And like a lot of people use a trap in the wintertime. It's a great bait in the wintertime. But the trap in the spring, in April especially, just hammer down.
That's awesome. That's awesome stuff. And yes, Jake, I do have the tubes. So Jake made me some specialized colors that I wanted, and that's what that simplifying, going back to the old school, the tube jig. And there's multiple ways to throw that thing, multiple ways to present it. Plus, my buddy is a tube jig master. And it's his go-to trusted. That's and so I've been.
Somebody recently smoked him in the elites on tube.
Yeah, who was that? Hunter Shryock. He killed quite a bit. Yeah, he walked the stage too. He was in the top 6, and he Texas rigged it, pinned it, and just chucked it out there, pitched it around. Like, that's awesome. Good to see that that still plays on some of those. All right, listen, buddy, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your evening here to come sit and talk fishing with us. We're freaking super stoked at all the success you've been having. We said this off air, and I want to say it again. Our sport is so built on momentum, and you've got Big Mo in your corner right now. I love the fact that you're staying busy this year, because that's just going to be more and more opportunity. Dude, you're one of the elites out there in my mind. Whether it's in a boat or a kayak, you've got the mindset, you got the skill set, the determination, the drive, and the support system. You got everything you need right there. Now it's just go, get the damn fish to play games. That's all you got to do.
I appreciate the kind words, friend. I appreciate that a lot. Like so I'll tell a little story here, and I share it. So a teenager that the grandson of my that I fish with regularly, he wrote me a letter the other day after I come out of the kayak championship on Fork, and sent me a letter, just kind of like, hey, I appreciate you taking me out on the boat and mentoring me and spending time with me and teaching me some things, and he's like, I also appreciate all the time you spend with my grandfather and like how you take good care of him, be a good friend to him, right? And so I put some stuff together for him that to get over his way. But when it comes down to is like, work hard, commit to your craft. If this is what you want, you need to zero in on it. You need to commit to it, right? There's no quit. There's bad days. There's good days. There's in between. You got to keep your head. You keep moving forward, right? Dream big. That has been on my kayak, on my catch board since day one.
That's
and
awesome, dude.
if you have those dreams and you have those aspirations, and that's something you want, what are you willing to do to help yourself get to that level? Dream big, right? Have that passion to go chase that and stay hungry. It's sentimental to me to have that spot to touch that kid's heart.
Hell yeah, man.
His grandfather is part of the reason why all of this sits behind me. He helped me get into the kayaks, and he helped me rig every boat I've ever ran.
So cool.
He's my in the bass boat when we do team events, and we ride and die together. And so shout out Kevin Fox and to his grandson, Remy Carter. So
that is awesome, man. That is so cool. And it's the people we meet, dude, in this sport that separates it, in my opinion. I've had the honor to meet, guys like you. We've spent time at Pickwick and other places. We've had a chance. Hartwell, yeah, I got a chance to hang out there.
Yeah,
that's right. We went out to dinner there, and you just meet some really cool people along the way, and and it's fishing that brought us all to in the same room, the same circle. Drew Gregory, when you introduced me to him, that was one of the funniest damn things. The two of us standing there next to Drew. Because Drew's like 5 foot whatever. He's a small dude, and then standing next to you, and I'm just like, good Lord, And he remembered that. He remembered that conversation when I had Drew on the show. He's like, yeah, I actually do remember that at Pickwick. We were sitting there talking. I was like, yeah, man. I was about 30 pounds heavier, but yeah. that it's having a chance just to meet different people all around. And when you can touch a kid, like that in a positive way where they are going to, feasibly take up the next, they're going to be that next generation that comes behind us.
That's right.
And hopefully they're starting their own podcast and they're out there fishing the natty and they're doing these things, and representing the sport as an ambassador, whether they realize they are or not. If you're out there fishing, that's
do the right
you're
thing
doing.
when nobody's looking.
I love it. And there's that old saying, the difference between champions and people that aren't champions is one of them quit. And that's it really does boil down to that at some point. If you don't quit, keep digging, keep being smart, keep driving for this stuff. And obviously you can't just be blind about it. You got to be smart about it. But still, people that win these championships, the difference is they've failed more than you. That's what it boils down to, is that those few chances that they had. I saw some stats on Jordan once that was like, good Lord, he failed way more than he's considered the GOAT, and he failed way more than he ever won. But we remember the great stuff. So, listen, buddy, again, lots and lots of tight line wishes for you all season long. We're going to be following along and watching you out there. Who knows what the next probably 4, 5, 6 months, I might be in your neck of the woods. We're working on a couple things. Brian and I are. And I know that there's a possibility of at least coming down there for, I don't know if I'll be able to get the kayak down there. That's a maybe. I might be able to get the kayak in there. But I'll definitely be down in that neck of the woods if we can put this plan together. So yeah, that would be cool to catch up with you.
If you can't bring a kayak down, I can put us on a bass boat.
That's true. You got a boat, so we could. I remember how to I remember that. It hasn't been that many years ago that I was doing it. So, well, good stuff, man. Send all of our best to the missus there, and like I said, be safe out there, tight lines, and keep Big Mo rolling.
Will do, my friend. Will do. Thank you as always. I appreciate it. You are an awesome friend and just a wonderful pleasure to talk to you. So I miss you, bro.
I miss you too, man. Take care.
Later.
All right, folks, that's going to bring this one here to another close. Make sure to go out there to Real Diehl Fishing. Go check him out there. You're going to love the content that he puts out. It's real. Pardon the pun there, but it is. It's real. You're going to see the true look at the work he's doing out there. Always fun to see the fish and the results that he's putting up. And he's not afraid to share the juice with you. When it comes to the gear that he's using and how he's doing it, he puts that out there on the page as well. So definitely follow along and see what he's going. To you folks that were tuning in here, to all of our team and guys out there, love you guys to death. Appreciate you. We got one more show, it looks like, folks. Maybe there's a small percentage that we have two more, but I believe it's next week is going to be our last show. I just need to make sure I can get the right guests together for that. And then we're going to have the Double S podcast. That's going to be going off. The Double S podcast will be right here on Heroes Media. It's going to be on Sunday nights is when we're going to do it. We'll start a full promotional package for that stuff probably later this week and get all that stuff out there so you'll see where the new podcast is coming. Fishing will be in there, but it won't be the centralized topic that we're talking about. We're going to be covering all kinds of issues, topics that matter to the warfighting communities out there. It's going to be our new push that we're working with. Sports is definitely a section that we're going to cover, though. Obviously, we love it, and the TPO uses kayak fishing and camping, so we'll definitely be covering that stuff. As always, make sure to give us a like and a follow and a subscribe. That is a huge help to us. That helps spread the mission to keep things moving. Yeah, man, that's a huge deal. Easy way that you can give us a ton of support and help. Next week, Tuesday night, 7 p.m. could be our last show. We'll be making some announcements this week through here. So until that time, tight lines. Be safe.